Okay, very important. Before we get, now that we got people already, you're making the content, you're doing the things. Before you start putting it all together, you gotta know your stories because this is how it starts to frame from the things that they're watching in your social media to the mindset of, I need you. That's huge. So the stories are gonna be the biggest thing. Your content philosophy behind everything you create in phase two for the sale starts here. Okay. So these are the stories that you need to put together because you're not just posting tips. Just tips don't build clients. Okay. They get you like likes and comments and they build some follower count. It looks educational, looks amazing, but they never really build into people DMing you saying, I want to buy. It never really creates the emotion and the foundation of someone says, he can help me or she can help me. It doesn't really book people. But stories, they create an emotional connection. They make prospects see themselves. Okay. It triggers that moment where the person goes, oh, that's me. The DMs start to come into your account and you can be able to follow up with them and you're booking them and you're now moving that prospect from just a person watching to a prospect that is a hotter lead to give you the information, right? And then everything gets booked. And then now they say, I really want what you're selling because I'm watching you and I think you're talking to me personally. Okay. People don't just buy information, they buy transformations. And if you look at like Disney stories, they do the same thing. That was one of the biggest things about Walt Disney that I admire the most is that he was able to think before it even came up. He said, how can I make people cry with drawings? And that was huge. That's a huge mind frame to be able to deliver a story in a way that makes people cry. The story and the transformation is because they see themselves somehow. So you have three things that we're going to be putting into your content. One is the mirror effect. When you tell a story, your prospect, ideally, you want them to think, oh, that's my situation. So that you can become the obvious solution because you're showing them this is someone just like you. Now they mirror themselves, and then I help this person. So then they get pulled with that and they say, I want to get help too. Number two is trust accelerator. It creates trust. A story delivers more credibility in 60 seconds than 10 slide carousel about your certifications. That means when I tell a story, people are going to be like, oh, he was able to do that for that person. I trust them to do that with me now. It's going to trigger that trust. Okay. It's going to accelerate that trust to you as the expert. Okay. And number three, the DM trigger. Stories are going to create an open loop. Okay. Viewers that from your stories, your shorts, your TikTok, and everything are going to be like, wait, is that me? That's my situation, but they're not going to have a solution. It's going to open them up to say, oh, what did he do? What are they going to do? What did she do? What's going on? And then come to you and say, hey, I'm in that situation. Can you help me close my loop? Can you help me get my answer, get my solution? And that's the sale. Okay. You need to be the obvious solution for their big issue. Okay. So every coach needs three types of stories. These are yours. You know what? This, I cannot deal with this. There you go. Stories. Got it. All right. All right. I had to do that with you guys here just to show you. And this is a great example. I want to show you that you don't have to make things perfect. You just got to make sure things get done. All right. Moving on. Every coach needs three types of stories. These are yours. Number one, your origin story. Who you were before, the breaking point, and then who you became. What it works or why it works, builds the identity and the trust. People invest in people, not programs. Okay? They don't want to invest in programs. They want to invest in you as the person that can help them. Okay? Again, I'm showing you right here. Boom. This is how you're going to make all of your Skool content. You're going to show the good and the bad. Right now, I'm showing you how I'm editing as I'm going because I know the value of just keep moving. All right. So just use that. Origin story, very important. You need to know where you started at. Number two, your client win story. So you need to have stories of people that had their wins. Okay, one client before, and then your process, and then their specific result would be the after. It proves the transformation is real and repeatable. Numbers matter. This is where you go 15 pounds down, 6 pounds down. We just had a person in our 6 week challenge for online that did 24 pounds lost in 6 weeks after she had tried all of the diets in her head, right? She had tried so many diets and there were all of them. 24 pounds in 6 weeks. Can you imagine that? That win, when we post it, it's like so many people saying, what, how? I need that. It's like, perfect. But we got to tell the story, not just a number, and you put that all together. Okay. Number three, belief busting story. It addresses the number one objection through a real experience or an analogy. Okay. Why it works? Because it removes the barriers before the prospect ever asks the question. The belief busting is people thought that they were going to find the right diet. And what they really needed is to stick to a diet for more than 4 weeks. We needed to go for 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is that your program is. That's a belief busting story. And we're going to tell the story about this person that lost 24 pounds the first 6 weeks. And then that story becomes because they lasted 6 weeks. If they would have done it at week number 4, they would have only lost 12, for example. It could be water weight. But what I'm saying is we have to find a story that busts the beliefs of that person. They come in thinking one thing, and then you show them what you've done, and that becomes busting their beliefs. One story can have 3 jobs, 0 effort. You don't need to complicate yourself with what you're going to do for content, because you first make your reels and your short form video, 60-second format, post it to wherever you want on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. I suggest just those 3 are fine, okay? But you need to put it into a hook. So the first 3 seconds are going to be your hook. Then you tell your story really short. Then you mirror it to the person watching, and then your call to action, your CTA. Then you pin your comment. Want to know how? Free community, link in bio. You're making content. Now, because it's organic, you're going to find some of them that are going to do very well in comparison to the others. That's what we're going to use. That one that does very well, we're going to test it as a paid ad, or we're going to boost it into your social media. Same script. We're just going to run it as an ad, okay? Only after the organic version has been validated. That amplifies to the algorithm what it's already working, okay? And it lowers your cost per lead because story equals an emotional buy-in. Very important. So in our short form content, we're not necessarily selling too much. We're just telling the story and mirroring with people. When we find one that's really good, then we boost it as an ad for it to sell for you. Then when you have a sales call, you also open, or throughout the sales call, you also do these stories. The prospect identifies with you right away if you start with it, but it builds an emotional connection before you start pitching them anything. So it moves them from somebody who was guarded to somebody that was open. So everything has a sequence that will go from your reel. Then they join your community. Ideally, you want to get your Skool community. Go click the link down below to use it so you can create it. They answer your questions. The data gets captured. Then it flows through Rico or your CRM, but the data should be auto-imported so it can start a follow-up sequence, meaning if I join your community, I should be getting a text and email saying, hey, thank you for joining. My name is Coach blah, blah, blah. How can I help you? Or what are the problems that you're dealing with? Things like that. And it starts to nurture that person, starts to nurture me in order to book a call. So your call link will be in that Skool community ready to go, okay? So when the call link is delivered and clicked, they book a call and then they show up for the call and then you close them. That's where the sales framework runs. And then I will show you in another video how to go through that presentation, okay? We'll get there, all right? But ideally, that's when the client enrolled and then you start servicing the client. So this is before we start servicing the client. Now, 4 lessons, 1 complete content engine. You're going to get these 4 in this phase 2. the 5-beat structure, the exact framework that turns any story into a converting short form post, the 30 pieces from one idea, how to multiply a story into a full month of content across every format, the DM strategy and referral engine, and the lead magnets that convert. All of that you're going to have in this phase 2. So before you go create content, know your stories. Download your story inventory worksheet, which we're going to put down below, and complete it before lesson 2.2. Okay? Every script you write from here forward will be built from this foundation. You write your origin story in 3 sentences. You identify 2 clients' wins that you can tell, like things that you've done in the past or clients you're working with. And then you're going to name the number 1 beliefs that stops your avatar. That's your belief buster. Okay, and we're going to work through all of those. So get to work. Go down to the worksheet below, download that, and let's get to work, right? See you on the next one.